This meeting is being recorded.
Lovely. Something's working then. So first thing to note is this is going to be recorded, so don't worry about taking too much notes and things like that. We will be sending this link out to everybody who attends, and also to people who might not be able to have joined today as well. First thing to say, I mean, thanks for joining, basically. My name's Anthony Bennett. I'm the Managing Director at Zync Digital, and we are going to be talking to you today about how digital marketing can basically improve customer service and increase membership. Okay. The first thing to note, as I say, we've had a couple of people saying, my video isn't on, my audio isn't on, things like that. We've set that up like that intentionally. We expected a lot of kind of appetite for this session. I think 90 plus people have signed up. So for everybody to have the camera on, we thought it would have been a bit kind of chaotic, would have been a little bit crazy, but thank you all for joining anyway. A few things to say. So webinars work slightly differently in that, obviously we're the panelists along the side, which you'll see our faces and our voices. But there's lots of opportunity to kind of get involved with polls, which we have running throughout the session. Any kind of, thoughts, feelings, kind of experience on anything that we've talked about. We really are trying to encourage people to use the chat, to use the Q&A functions. If you've got any questions at any point when we're going through stuff, please do pop it into the chat and we'll be picking that up. I'm conscious of the weather basically, and how warm it is and how hard it is to stare at a screen for 2 hours. So we're going to be having a break in the middle, just kind of comfort break, refresh, and then we can come back and get started and things like that. I just wanted to thank Trish and Kath, who couldn't be with us, from the IMLT for inviting us to join today. But it is really appreciated, essentially. Just in terms of how these sessions are going to work, I mean, hopefully you're familiar with the format and how we're going to be doing things. But today is very much an introduction into the types of things that we do for our clients and that we're kind of used to performing. It's very much kind of, it's deliberately created as though it's a beginner's guide, because we know we have a real range of experience from the attendees today. We have credit unions who've been doing digital marketing to an excellent standard for years and are experts and wizards at it. And then we've got other people who are pretty new to the whole thing. So hopefully today we'll have something for everyone. The second session, which is going to be in 12 days from now on Monday at the same time on the 25th, we'll be looking a lot more in depth at a few of the things we're going to be talking about today. There's also going to be an opportunity for you guys to tell us which area, and we're going to be kind of offering this and explaining more towards the end, but which area we'd like to look at together as a group. We can go away as a team, create some kind of content and some material to run through in a lot more detail, basically. And then the third session, so the third kind of element to this kind of series of support is a one-to-one consultancy session. Now, after the two kind of workshops, you'll be able to book in at up to a 2-hour session with us, essentially. And that, I should say, that is only available to credit unions based in England. But if you were interested in exploring it, if your credit union is based outside of England, please do get in touch and we can certainly try and fit you in. We can try and see what we can do. Okay. I think at this point, is there any kind of questions come up from anybody, guys? Jack, Pooja? Or are we all okay? I think you're on mute, mate.
Patrick, well, get that out of the way first. There's a few questions on the chat. So just to Ruby, if you're struggling to sort of hear us and can't turn your volume up, we will be sending out recordings of the webinar to all attendees afterwards, and that should answer your question as well, Jazz. You'll be getting a copy of the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? All okay?
We're all good.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, and I should say at this point as well, after both sessions, you'll be sent a survey, so that will come through tomorrow, and it'll just help us to improve for the next time for any kind of future webinars or sessions that we run. And please do kind of get involved with that as much as possible. The more feedback you can give us, the better for us to improve what it is that we do. Okay, so bear with me 1 second. I have to wait. Is this better? Can you see that clearer? Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, I mean, I think just to kind of run through what it is that we're going to be doing. As I say, it is deliberately created broadly. It's a beginner's guide. We're going to talk through a lot of the different areas and why we should do them. Again, apologies to any credit unions out there who are digital marketing pros, but your kind of, your input is very much valued and appreciated. Please do let us know what your experience has been with these different types of areas. It would really be appreciated. We want this to try and be as interactive as possible. There's lots of opportunity for discussion, for polls, to share your experience and so on. Okay, so I mean, I think what we'll do is we will hand over to Trish, if you're still with us.
I am, yeah, thanks Anthony. I won't keep you too long, guys, because I know you're here to listen to the experts, and certainly not me. But just for anybody who doesn't know, I'm Trish Cassidy. I am the Credit Union Liaison Officer for England Illegal Money Lending Team. And just as a little bit of background, earlier in the year, I got in touch with all credit unions in England to say what's going on in your world, where are you struggling, and perhaps where there's opportunity for us to help a little bit. And one of the key trends that came out of that was general credit union awareness. We all know is an issue, trying to engage new members and let people know the great work that credit unions and community banks are doing, but also challenges with social media. So obviously we're much more of an online world now than ever before. So the idea of getting involved with Zync Digital to give some expertise on this area just seemed to fit really naturally. But again, as Anthony said, any questions or feedback, either directly in relation to the project today, or anything else that you think would be really useful for us to get involved in, or any thoughts or ideas, I am always all ears. So thank you for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you, Trish. Okay, so just a little bit of an introduction about ourselves. I'll start with myself. My name's Anthony Bennett, for anybody I've not had the pleasure of meeting yet. I'm the Managing Director at Zync Digital. We've worked with the credit union sector for coming up to 5 years now. I mean, my background personally is very much in credit unions. We know we're very passionate about where they want to be, and hopefully we're getting to a position where we know how to take them there, essentially. So that's me. I'm going to hand over to our team. I mean, as I say, we've got to this stage and we've built up. I mean, I started kind of Zync Digital as a one-man band, but I couldn't have done it without the fantastic team behind me who joined today. So, I mean, I'll hand over to Toby, who's directly below me, just to say a bit about himself.
Hi guys, my name's Toby. I've been with Zync for 2 years now, and I work sort of predominantly in paid social, which we'll talk about in a bit, and website development. So my career has been sort of entirely in those two areas, working with budgets from as small as £100 a month to budgets that are sort of £200,000 a month. So I've got sort of a broad range of expertise in sort of the paid social, pay-per-click, and website areas. And yeah, that's me really.
Good stuff. And then Jack.
I'll go next. Hi guys, I'm Jack. I'm the paid social account manager. So pretty similar to sort of Toby's experience, maybe without as much website experience. So yeah, if there's sort of any questions that you think are specific to kind of paid social, feel free to kind of shoot me or Toby a message after the webinar or anything like that, or of course during, if you want to ask us any questions in the chat. And yeah, we'll try and answer them as best we can for you.
Superb. Pooja.
Hi, I'm Pooja. I'm one of the social media managers here at Zync. I do things like planning posts for various social media channels, things like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We also do things like community management side of things, sort of managing incoming messages or interacting with your members online. Been here for just over a year now, and I can definitely say I've learned a lot about the credit union sector and sort of the amazing work that you will do to help your communities. So we're really excited to help.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Just in terms of the areas that we specialize in as an agency, it ranges from kind of organic social media, which Pooja's only just touched on, to kind of, you know, graphic design, kind of rebranding projects, to, you know, targeted advertising. So making sure your message gets out there and reaches the right people. Also things like website design, training and workshops, exactly like this one. And also kind of reporting and analyzing everything that we do essentially. But I won't spend too much time on that because we're going to look at each of them in turn. So I always think the best place to start with one of these sessions is why, really. I mean, what's the point in doing what it is that we do? So I think the most obvious one is spreading the message, spreading the credit union message. I mean, as you guys all know, not enough people know about credit unions. I think, you know, the recent cost of living crisis, the strain that that's putting on families up and down the country. You all know the kind of impact that you can have on individuals and families. So, you know, given the fact that I think we're about 2 million members of credit unions in the UK, but there's about, you know, 16 million people living in poverty at the moment in the UK. It's a no-brainer essentially. It's the reason why we exist as a business, and it's the most important one basically. Okay, so I think social media is a big part of that, and I think if, say for example, one of your members was to have a positive experience, if they were to be helped out by a credit union, they're more likely to go and tell people about that on social media or even in person essentially. Another thing, and this is something that we do a lot for our clients, is equipping their staff and their teams to really be kind of empowered to go out and talk about how good credit unions are. I mean, if you think about, you know, the people who are most passionate and who are most kind of willing to shout about credit unions from the rooftops are the people who work for them or are involved with them, whether that be directors, volunteers, staff, suppliers, all these types of things. So equipping them with the right skills and the right kind of you know, kind of qualities to go out and tell people about it means that more people are going to find out about it as well. Not only that as well, something that we found, I mean, if we were to say, you know, provide a training session for kind of younger members of a credit union team, they're empowered to do that. If it's kind of, say for example, if you were to train them with the right skills to run and manage a social media account, for example, which a credit union might not have previously, that's a motivating factor, and they'll feel engaged, they feel empowered. It's their kind of language. Particularly younger people tend to you know, be social media natives, so it's speaking in their language essentially, and that's something that we've found as well. Again, you know, if, say for example, your credit union staff were to go out and kind of tell people all about how great the credit union is and the impact that it can have, and people are more likely to trust that than if it was to come from the credit union itself. It's kind of, you know, this idea of thought leadership, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Again, I mean, something that the current situation has told us, particularly, I mean, thinking back to the pandemic, so many of your members have different needs. I mean, members who would ordinarily rely on going into branch to visit you guys, overnight, that was changed. Essentially, it was all online. And then, so what kind of a proper digital marketing strategy does is it increases the number of channels that people can contact the credit union, and therefore it makes your member base more kind of tailored to, essentially. For example, I mean, you know, the current cost of living crisis, people now will be kind of coming to you guys for different things. As you know, some can come kind of only for lending, some can come for savings, and vice versa. So what kind of digital marketing allows you to do is it allows you to communicate the full range of kind of services that are available. I mean, some members might not know that you offer, let's say, young savers accounts or prize saver accounts for those of you guys who offer that. So having a proper digital marketing strategy allows you to communicate the full range of services that are available to members pretty much 24/7 a lot of the time as well. Okay. Trust, I mean, this is a big one. You know, credit unions are different to high street banks, and rightly so. We should be considered as such. I think, you know, kind of thinking back to the financial crash and kind of big banks and kind of bankers bonuses, all these types of things, trust pretty low with regards kind of high end, you know, kind of high street big banks and kind of things like that, particularly as well if you think about, you know, organizations like Facebook, Amazon, not paying kind of corporation tax and all these types of things. General opinion isn't too good. But credit unions are completely different. The member owned, a lot of the time the volunteer led. They are different. And what kind of digital marketing allows you to do is to really communicate that difference across the people. Okay, so that's also something that we encourage people to do. That's a reason why digital marketing can really work in your favor. Okay, got a couple of stats along the bottom as well, just to kind of illustrate these points. But only about 43% of people trust in big businesses. Okay, and we want to make ourselves very different to that. We want to differentiate ourselves for a reason. Okay, so we've got a bit of a kind of task now, just to illustrate this. Please do get involved in the chat with kind of these kind of things that are going to pop up. Okay, so this is presented without any political comment, by the way. This guy talked a lot about fake news and kind of trust and kind of, you know, belief in kind of the news or big organizations and things like that. So what we've got is we're going to present a number of different products or services, and we want you guys to tell us if you believe that they're real or if they're fake. Okay, so this is the first one. So this is a KFC branded sun cream, and it's kind of crunchy fried chicken flavored, so it smells like it, and I don't know what it tastes like, but I want you to just put it in the chat if you believe it's real or if it's fake. Okay, guys, can you just keep an eye on the chat and just let us know what's coming through?
All fake so far.
Everyone, okay. Someone's in Gran Canaria. That's Maria, yeah, okay. Real and tasty, okay. Gotta be fake. So overwhelming.
Yeah. Got 2 reels.
Okay. Well, those 2 people, correct.
Bill and Hillary, well done.
Yeah. Okay. So next one. So I should explain a bit about this. This was a product that was brought out that you would, you know, wear as the ladies were in there, and it would kind of basically convert the polluted air as you breathe in, and then as you exhale, it would be kind of, you know, all the toxins would be removed as you exhale. So again, same deal. What do we think, real or fake? How's it looking?
I think it's a bit of a mix this time.
Yeah, the mixed bag. Silly enough to be real. Okay. Great. So that was fake. That's correct. Next one. So to explain a little bit about this one, these are essentially they're basically crisps, but they're an American version basically of Doritos, right? But for the Super Bowl, which is NFL, That's led to, over the years, the most drink driving accidents in the US, with a lot of fatalities and things like that. It's a big kind of event. It's usually on a Sunday. A lot of people go to bars, things like that. So to kind of combat this, what Tostitos wanted to do is to bring out this brand of chips that you would buy in the bar. There was a hole towards the top. I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of just above the T and the other T there. And what you would do is you would blow into this bag of chips. It would then flash up as red if you were over the limit to drive home. And it would then connect to the Uber app in your phone and order a cab for you to go home, essentially. So it's a fantastic idea in theory. I just want you to tell me if you think it's real or if it's fake.
I think we've got mostly reels coming through at the moment. A couple of fake.
Yeah, I think I sold it a bit too well there. Okay, anyone else? See?
Yeah, a few more. Bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah. Okay. So it was that good an idea. It was real, which is brilliant. I don't know how sustainable it'd be cost wise, but it's fantastic if it obviously reduces the number of fatalities and casualties and things like that. Brilliant. And then final one. This is McDonald's branded juices, or kind of smoothies, if you like. So we've got on the left Big Mac blend. Then we've got Filet-O-Fish swish, French fries quench, which is a mouthful, and then Ruby McRib juice. So if you can imagine all your favorite burgers blended up into a lovely smoothie substance. What do we think?
A lot of fakes.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody fancy? It looks like John wouldn't mind one. Okay.
To be honest, sometimes when you are eating your Big Mac, you just think, couldn't I just blend this?
I know you would. Okay. So correct, that was fake. I mean, perish the thought that would ever be real, really. Although I know a few people who'd probably try it. That was an April Fool's kind of marketing viral kind of gimmick, essentially. Now, I know with these guys, I mean, it's a bit of fun, but it's more just to illustrate how kind of, I mean, I know on some of them we had a real mixed bag. Some people said real for some said fake for others. I think the point that we're trying to illustrate is that, all of these things were taken from social media, all of these images. And essentially it just kind of illustrates the power and the influence that, you can have over your audience by kind of taking control of your digital marketing strategy. It really kind of controls the narrative. So it kind of, with the right kind of considered strategy, people will think what you want them to think about your organization. And obviously as credit unions, we want to distance ourselves from the competitors, but also appeal to the right people for the right reasons. We're ethical organizations, and that is kind of what we want to try and get across ultimately. Okay. So the next thing that we talk about is kind of leadership. A lot of kind of credit union CEOs and CEOs in general, to be honest, aren't really that active on social media. I think, we talk a lot about this idea of thought leadership. If you think about, say, the most kind of, some of the biggest organizations in the world, you think about Virgin and Richard Branson, you think about Tesla and Elon Musk, you think about Microsoft and Bill Gates. In essence, all of these kind of individuals are, their values are represented in their organizations and vice versa. So what kind of digital marketing allows you to do is, as the leader of an organization, if you kind of create and put out worthwhile content for credit union staff, then that reflects well on the organization and vice versa. Say, for example, your CEO or your manager creates a fantastic blog, puts it out on LinkedIn. It gets lots of traction, lots of engagement. A new potential payroll partner could see that, thinks they're a brilliant organization, they're based in our kind of common bond area. I'd love to get in touch with them, and then vice versa. So essentially, that's what digital marketing can open up for you ultimately. And again, it's about breaking the mold. I mean, as I've just alluded to, not that many kind of credit union CEOs are that active on social media. Something that we encourage our clients to do very much is to do so. Essentially, it's about breaking the mold. It's about making a kind of an impact where we haven't already, essentially. Okay. Member communication. I mean, again, digital marketing is a channel in which you can communicate with members and they can do the same. It's a two-way street. Over the course of COVID-19 and coronavirus, it was obviously essential to update members as the situation changed. I mean, God knows how kind of fluid the situation was with new kind of rules, restrictions, all these types of things. So what digital marketing allows you to do is it allows you to communicate all of these changes in a different way. Certain members might not pick up the phone and call you guys. Certain members might flock to social media to find out more. And what it does, having that kind of multi-channel strategy, is it can also alleviate the pressure on you guys. Say, for example, if you're answering questions all the time about, when are, let's say, school uniform loans open, if that's something that you offer. Digital marketing allows you to communicate that and kind of gives you some time back to focus on the things that matter, essentially. Okay, so it's just about kind of letting people know the full range of services and kind of updates that are available to them, ultimately. So this is a cool start to think. Over a third of people prefer social media as a method of communication. I mean, I know for a fact that, say, for example, if I wanted to, contact a organization about a particular offer or a particular order that I might have made, I would go straight to their website, to their chat kind of function, which some credit unions have now. Social media, it's a pretty much an immediate way of kind of getting an answer. And that's what it allows you to do. It allows you to be more reactive and not kind of clog up phone lines and things like that for more urgent matters and things like that. Okay. And in collaboration, I mean, it's pretty unique about this sector, I think, because all of you guys have all joined today and we're all going to be kind of, sharing experiences and things like that. Collaboration is pretty unique about the credit union sector. We all kind of come together for, kind of conferences, whether it be the ABCO conference, whether it be ACU's conference, the UK CU's conference, the Scottish League. We all come together and kind of share learnings, even though, we're all kind of the same type of organizations, credit unions, CDFIs or community banks. There's a lot to be shared. And I think that's pretty unique. So digital marketing allows you guys to collaborate online, for example. I mean, we have, at the moment, we've got a LinkedIn group for credit unions and social enterprises to share kind of learnings with regard to digital marketing and things like that. Not being kind of, active and visible and kind of, involved in digital marketing kind of leaves you out of those things. So that's another reason why, we really encourage people to have a full digital marketing strategy. I've noticed a few times Debbie Kingthorne's raised the hand, guys. I mean, is there anything in the chat at all? Well, Debbie, if you'd like to pop it in, we can pick that up as we go, or it might just be a mistake as well, or we'll see. Okay, guys, if you want to keep an eye on the chat, we can pick it up. Okay. Okay, cool. And then again, something that we're going to talk about in depth a little later, more members. I mean, that's the most obvious reason why we do what we do. It's ultimately what we're judged on as a marketing agency. It's the return on investment. It's the ultimate kind of result. It's generating new members, new loans, and more growth for the credit union. Digital marketing is kind of, it's all measurable essentially, whereas traditional marketing methods might not be as such. Say, for example, if you were to take out an advert on the tube or on the bus, it's great and it might reach loads of people, and 5,000 people might get in touch, but there's no exact, definite specific way of measuring that. Whereas with digital marketing, every impression, every click is all kind of measured. It's all kind of, that journey is tracked from beginning to end, essentially. Okay. Any questions so far? Are we all okay? Cool. That's good. Okay then. So we talked about the why. I think now we'll get into what's involved with digital marketing, I think. So the most obvious kind of area, which I think everyone will know at least something about or be familiar with it at least, is social media. Firstly, it's the most obvious area. When people think of digital marketing, they tend to think social media is coming closely behind it, essentially. So just to give you some ideas, I think these stats have increased since, to be totally honest. It's around about 60% of the global population have an active social media account, 70% of the whole of the UK, and I think it's about 93% of people aged under 30 have a social media account. So obviously moving forwards, as we look to the future, if you're not on social media, you generally won't be taken seriously, I don't think. So I'd really recommend at least having a presence and starting from there. One thing that I'd say is I wouldn't recommend spreading yourself too thin. Only focus on 1 or 2 channels that you think, that your members are on and active on, and doing those really well, as opposed to spreading yourself over, say, 6 or 7 different channels that you're not too familiar with. Okay. Again, on average, in terms of how often, I can say for a fact my usage of this is higher to my detriment, but average daily use of social media is about 3 hours across the board. Again, the main thing to consider when we're talking about organic social media, so literally posting on socials and things like that, is that it's not a place to sell things. Essentially, it's about communicating your ethics, your values, your identity as an organization. It's not where you go and kind of say, take out this loan, kind of take out this savings account all the time, because eventually that will work against you. It's very much, if you think about, if you go and buy a paper or a newspaper, you don't go straight to the adverts and read what people are trying to sell you. The best adverts are always when people don't realize that they're being sold to. It's about making a connection, essentially. But social media isn't so much for that. It's about kind of communicating the things that happens behind the scenes that makes credit union different to every other organization out there. Okay. Something to kind of illustrate this point, social media only grew in kind of importance over lockdown and COVID-19. It really kind of, people spent a lot more time on it, obviously because they were at home. A lot of people weren't working, they were furloughed or whatever. But that kind of usage is pretty much continued since. If you think about kind of growing social media channels, at the moment, TikTok is the fastest growing. And I know that last year it was the most visited website out of anyone. So more than Google, more people visited TikTok than Google last year, which I just find mind blowing, essentially. Okay, so just a bit of kind of chance for you guys to get involved now. These are kind of 12 social media channels that we've picked, and we just want you guys to put in the chat which of these that you use for yourself and which of these that your credit union might use. So ones that you personally, and then ones that your credit union is active on and has a presence on. Please do get involved in the chat and let us know. Okay. Let us know if it's not that many as well. 8 for Louise, wow. Impressive. as well, if you could name the ones that you do use, that'd be brilliant, just for us to get a bit of an idea. And as well, what would be good to know is if there are any that aren't named on there that you might use. So what's the land looking like, guys? What's the most on the frequent ones, we think?
A lot of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, bit of YouTube, Twitter.
And if anybody doesn't, it'd be really good to find out why you haven't explored it, essentially.
Surprisingly, there's very few Pinterest users.
Yeah, I mean, hasn't that kind of fell by the wayside now, Pinterest? I think it has, isn't it? Tumblr has.
Isn't it like arts and crafts? I think a lot of
Yeah.
I get all my cooking recipes from Pinterest.
Quite nice to see a lot of TikTok users. That's quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed and surprised in equal measure. Okay. Okay. There's a couple of interesting comments I can see. I mean, one coming in from Jazz about RMT only available to RMT members. Well, it's a really interesting point to think, but I mean, it's a question of saying, well, you know, do your members use kind of social media? I'm sure that they're involved in some capacity, even in a personal kind of as I say, capacity. But it'd be, you know, is it worth exploring to reach those where they're using it? Because obviously, if they were to come, if they're a long-standing member, they're likely to recommend it to others on social media, maybe. There's some here that I'm not even familiar with that I'm going to ask you guys. We are 8. Does anyone know that? No. We'll have to look into that. Also, Yick.
I'm going to be Googling these myself.
Yeah.
I think it's about ads. You can get like sort of paid to watch ads. And
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say, I mean, Amy's just said about clever money to use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I think in our experience, those 4 are the most popular for credit unions. I think. I mean, certainly with our clients, that's what we've found is those 4. And also with TikTok kind of I should illustrate. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are the most 4 popular channels for credit unions. That's in our experience. And it's also certainly for our clients as well. So with that in mind, essentially these are just some kind of pointers that, you know, that might help. I mean, again, I'm not going to go through each one in massive detail, but you will be sent this. This is just a bit of a, you know, a cheat sheet, if you like, in terms of frequency, why we use it, etc. So looking at Facebook, it's pretty much most popular for video content, competitions, general news and updates and things like that. It's pretty much most popular with members. That's where you'll find the majority of your members is on Facebook. Okay, let me just plug in, hold on. It's still very much the most popular site in the world in terms of social media. Pretty much, I mean, we'd only recommend posting about 1 a day on there. Twitter's different. Twitter's kind of used a lot more for kind of the regular frequent updates. So say, for example, live tweeting an event such as this, which I should say, I mean, I think I forgot to mention earlier, please do tweet along with this. I mean, Pooja's obviously manning our social media channels as we go through. Use the hashtag ZyncIMLT and we'll pick up any questions, any thoughts, any feedback there. But it's more kind of Twitter, you find other partners, some members, but also other credit unions and things like that. Say, for example, you get a lot of, it's a good place to interact with followers, accounts with larger followers. I mean, you might have noticed recently, we interviewed Gareth Thomas, MP for Harrow West, talking all about credit unions. Obviously, for us to promote that, we tagged in Gareth, who reshared it to his 10, 20,000 followers, which is brilliant exposure for Zync Digital to kind of reach more people and to get more people to see the interview that we did. If you haven't seen it, please do check it out. Okay. But again, frequency with Twitter is a lot more often. I mean, the average life cycle of a tweet is about 20, 25 minutes. So don't be worried about kind of tweeting too much on the channel. Okay.
Sorry to just interrupt you, Ant, but Mira was just asking if we'd be able to make the slides any bigger on the screen just so she can read it a little bit easier.
Let me see. I don't know if I can, to be honest. We're on full kind of stretch.
We'll be sending the slides out, won't we?
Yeah, we'll be sending them out. So, you know, anything kind of in depth, you know, you can see all these things for yourself. Don't worry about that at all. Okay. So moving on, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's very much the professional network, as you know. It's where you find payroll partners. It's where you find directors, volunteers, potentially, all things like that. It's brilliant for hiring, for recruitment. It's a really kind of useful, kind of powerful tool if used correctly. It's very much for kind of professional content, given that. Blogs, kind of partnerships, achievements, things like, you know, improvements to the credit union, you know, kind of refreshed products, things like that. It's very much where that kind of content can be consumed and appreciated. And then Instagram's different. Again, Instagram's only a visual channel, so you need to make sure that it's very kind of attractive, high quality images, video, things like that. It's generally speaking a younger user base, so you can be really creative, really fun, really kind of engaging, and that's the best way to do it. Okay. So just in terms of, you know, we talked about the channels, we've talked about why you should be on social media. Well, I mean, this is just a good kind of rule of thumb, a good checklist that we use when we're creating content for our kind of client channels. Okay. So if it's not one of these 4 things, we wouldn't recommend posting it. Okay. So once you've made a post and you don't think it's at least one of these 4 to a sufficient degree, it's better not to post, essentially. And the reason being is that social media channels reward content that is better performing. So say, for example, if you put out a post and it's brilliant, lots of people like it, reshare it, comment on it, it means that next time you put out a post, the algorithm on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram will show it to more people because it's performed well. Essentially, it's basically a scoring system. However, if you were to put out a post and it doesn't really get any traction, people don't really interact with it, it will have the reverse effect and it will be shown to less and less people. It's why some kind of accounts you might see have, you know, up to, you know, 1,000 and over followers, but very little engagement in terms of people liking it. That's because of the quality of the content. So we use this as a rule of thumb. If it's not one of these things, we'd recommend not posting overall. However, if it does kind of fit that kind of strategy, if it is entertaining, informant, or one of the other kind of checkpoints, when writing it, use this structure. So grab their attention first, then kind of describe some interest, you know, and generate a bit of desire, and then ultimately a call to action at the end. So where do people go once you've kind of hooked their attention, essentially? So I've got a example, and this is from the Stop Loan Sharks team. Trish, I'm sure you'll be happy me making reference to this, but
Yay.
but the first thing is to grab people's attention straight away. Stop Loan Sharks newsletter is out now with an update on arrests and campaigns and things that we've been up to. Latest figures from the kind of, is that the community, what was that? The Centre for Social Justice think tank, plus real stories from people who have been helped. So the real kind of, you know, the beneficiaries of all the work ultimately. And then finally, directing people to go somewhere. Okay. Another example, so this is a post that Pooja put together for us. Who did you want to talk through this one?
Yeah. So I think the main thing with this is the thought process is obviously we were working with the Stop Loan Sharks team. So first and foremost, you want to make sure you're tagging them. By tagging them, they're able to sort of make sure that they can sort of interact as well. You want to have a clear call to action, which was sort of encouraging more people to sort of go to our landing page and have a really high quality image, which I hope was a high quality image. Really making sure you've large images and large text to make sure you're capturing everyone's attention, using relevant hashtags as well, trying to get more exposure with that. But overall, you want to also make sure your logo is very clear so people are able to identify who you are when they are looking at the post, if there is an image involved. But yeah, just that was just a sort of thought process that I had when making this post.
Brilliant. Superb. Okay. Also on the images, just to kind of support that basically, is we'd always recommend having minimal text on your images. Try and make it kind of less than 50%, because if people see reams and reams of kind of text on an image, it'll pretty much turn them away from it ultimately. Okay, so time wise, I mean, we've done about 50 minutes so far. How are we feeling, Trish, about a kind of a 5-10 minute break there, and then we can come back and carry on?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I'll just pause the recording and then I'll see you guys at, say, just before 11. That's okay.
Super.
Superb. Okay. Okay. We're back. I'll just pick the Q&A up now.
Yep.
So, RMT are looking for someone to develop / manage our website. Is there someone you guys can recommend? Well, the first place would be ourselves. That is something that we do. I'd love to pick up the conversation with you, Jazz. If it's outside of our kind of scope, I'm sure we'll know someone who can help. But please do send us an email to info@zyncdigital.com. We'd love to pick it up. Brilliant. Superb. Okay. Okay, so we're back. So thanks, guys. Hope that was a welcome break anyway. I know it certainly was with the weather in London. So thanks for coming back. Thanks for still being here. What we're going to talk about now, so we've talked about organic social media briefly and social channels and, what we put on there and how we put it across there. But paid social media is very different. Paid social media basically is sponsored, targeted advertising to make sure that your message appears at the right place, at the right time, to the right people. Okay. Now, we talked earlier a little bit about algorithms and how, kind of asking, kind of providing them right kind of engaging content can work either in your favor or against you, essentially. Now, going back years, it used to be really easy to go viral, to reach, a high percentage of your audience or whoever it is that's following you. But over time, the social media channels themselves realized, hang on a minute, we can earn money from this. Let's charge people to kind of send out messages at the right times. So, generally speaking, your posts are only likely to reach about 5 or 10% of your audience. That's pretty much across the board. It changes for, per channel, but that's a good rule of thumb to kind of keep your eye on, essentially. In our experience, and Toby and Jack will really testify to this, it's the most cost-effective method of sales generation. So obviously for us, in credit union terms, it's generating new members and new loans off the back of it. And the reason why is because you can be really, really kind of sophisticated in your targeting. And crucially, you can see the return on investment more than you can on traditional marketing. TV, radio, kind of, flyers, newspaper ads are brilliant, but you're never going to be 100% certain. For those of us who are in this webinar now, might work in marketing, who has a CEO or a management who kind of ask for results and kind of ask for, what's the end result on it, it can be really difficult to prove the kind of return. But whereas digital marketing, if done correctly and done properly, is really traceable, and you can kind of, see that journey and see that path, and kind of really, kind of match what you've done to what's happened at the end of it. Okay. Again, so sophisticated. I mean, the level in which you can target people is quite surprising, to be honest. And we'll have a look at that now. Just in terms of the different objectives of a paid social media campaign, and this is, pretty much every channel offers a paid option. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, all of them offer this. And the reason being is that it's their primary method of generating revenue. The social media channels themselves aren't billion-dollar organizations because they've got the best platform or because people love using it. It's because the wealth of information and data that they hold on people. So that therefore allows them to be really, really powerful advertising tools. It's not just about sales though. Say for example, if you've got a pretty senior hire that you'd like to make for your credit union, LinkedIn's a really, really good tool to recruit for to headhunt somebody, to recruit someone who's got exactly the right type of skills. I mean, I know for a fact I've been hired via LinkedIn. It's a really kind of powerful tool ultimately. There's also things like awareness. Say for example, if you just want to make people aware that you're there, it's not kind of too aggressive. You don't want them to take out a loan straight away or to join straight away. It's just about letting people know that you're there. Essentially, in a particular area, you can do that with paid social. Things like video views. I know one of our clients recently celebrated the 40th anniversary and created a lovely all singing, all dancing video celebrating the successes of the credit union over the past 40 years. So what we've been discussing is getting that video out to more people and making more people see it ultimately. Okay. This is just an example of a campaign. I mean, Tobe, Jack, I don't know if you want to just talk through, or what do you think?
Yeah, sure. So obviously we've sort of got kind of some of the metrics that we'd look at for the campaign, the kind of KPIs. So we've got reach here, which is the number of people that we've reached. So that's sort of each individual person's feed that our ads will appear on. And then we've got impressions. So let's say that you see one of our ads sort of 3 times, that would be 3 impressions, but it would only count sort of as 1 reach. We've got things like our budget, cost per lead, the leads generated, clicks through to site. So generally what we'll kind of be looking to do is sort of get some information off people, sort of find out if they're essentially interested in joining the credit union to take out a loan or become a member, and then we try and push them through to the sort of credit union's website. So it's important that we kind of look at all these different metrics just to see how the campaign is performing, and then obviously we sort of take into account the value of a new account that we generate, how many accounts we do generate, and this is how we kind of calculate our return on investment. So yeah, I mean that's basically just sort of what we've got here, what we'll be looking at sort of running a campaign day to day. And yeah, I think is there anything that you'd think to add yourself, Toby?
Yeah, well, just that what's so great about campaigns like this is it's entirely scalable to your budget. So say you spent £200 instead of £400, we aim to still get you that same return on investment that you see at the bottom. So you can really put in as much as you have or is available. And that doesn't necessarily dictate how successful a campaign will be. It will just dictate the number of leads that we get in total. So it's one of those things where, you can try it for 100 quid, and you can scale up as you go, or you can jump straight in with 1,000, 2,000, whatever works for you. It's entirely scalable to your current situation as a credit union.
Awesome. Brilliant. And I should say at this point, guys, as well, it's almost like we're talking about these things and what we can do, but we're not really going in depth with it. That's very much the second session. Okay, so at the end of this session, you'll have an opportunity to vote on which area you like to explore in a lot more depth. We're going to be looking at organic social for the first half of it, and then the second half will be completely up to you. We'll be voting on that at the end of this. Okay. So we talk about factors with regards to kind of targeting. It can be really specific, really sophisticated. Say for example, if you're an employer credit union, you might be able to target people based on their employer on LinkedIn or Facebook. If you're a community credit union, say for example, you might offer loans to people who are in receipt of child benefit. What we could try and do is to create a campaign that targets kind of mothers of children within a specific geographical area, essentially. These are the types of things that we can do, look to try and kind of take advantage of, essentially, as these really powerful, sophisticated targeting factors. And crucially as well, you will be assured that nobody who is ineligible to join will be served the message, essentially. So it's only reaching people who are one, likely to join, but two, crucially, able to join as well. It's say, for example, keep going back to this traditional marketing thing, but if you take out a TV ad, not everybody who sees it will be interested, or not everybody who sees it will even be able to join. Okay. So in terms of steps, these are the types of things that we would recommend doing, to look at with regard to paid social campaign. So firstly, start with what's your objective. We talked about before. Is it new members? Is it new loans? Is it just awareness? Things like that. Is it downloads? You might have a new app. Or is it kind of, you've got a new website, you want people to go and see it, or to find out more about a particular product. That can be your objective as well. The next bit, and this is crucial, because ultimately, if you do work in marketing, it would be really kind of, you're ultimately going to be asked, how successful was it? But if you don't define that before you start, then coming to the end, you'll just have numbers and you don't really know what they mean. So kind of setting out your store before you start, really having a measurement of how we're going to kind of define and decipher that is crucial as well. Is it new members? Is it clicks? Is it leads? New subscribers to an email, perhaps? Or is it impressions, reach, awareness type kind of stats? Or again, downloads. Okay. So who's your audience? I mean, obviously you should know that. I think credit unions already have a step up in terms of knowing who your audience are, because you have a common bond. But within that common bond, you have people who are likely to join. So say, for example, if we were to, create a campaign for a generic kind of, let's say a clothing brand, it's a lot more difficult to find out who your market is. You've got to research and kind of find out exactly, right, this is our target audience. But with credit unions and community banks, you are already halfway there, because you have a common bond. So that kind of excludes a vast majority of the population. Okay. Again, budget and timescale, as Toby and Jack have just alluded to there. Budgets are always scalable. These social media channels, they're not just for huge organizations with tens and thousands and loads of money to spend every month. If you do just want to start small, it's scalable, and you can learn from it and say, okay, that worked, maybe that didn't, I'll put more money into this pot and less into that one next time. Creatives, we're going to look at this again in more detail in a follow-up session. But what are you going to use? Are you going to use a video, an image, a carousel, all these types of things? Whatever you do use, make sure it's high quality, it's on brand. So, it's kind of consistent with whatever messaging and colors and styles that you have for your credit union, which hopefully you should know. Most have a kind of a color or a kind of consistent theme. Captivating advert, obviously this is a bit of a skill, but the more you try, the more you can kind of realize what works and what doesn't. Social media kind of platforms have something called A/B testing, whereby you can write one particular advert compared to another and run a test and see which kind of call to action works best. So, it's all about kind of learning, developing as you go, essentially. Monitor closely and tweak. Don't just kind of let your campaign run wild, come back to it in 4 weeks, and then you say, okay, that's what happened. Always see kind of trends, things like that. If there's a downturn, try something new. If there's an upturn, do more of that thing. And then again, report, analyze, and learn. The key, keep coming back to it, the key distinction of digital marketing over traditional is that it's all measurable, it's all kind of attributable, basically. Okay, so just some tips. Research first. Again, guys, please do interrupt me, and I know this is your domain, so please do. But research first. Have one objective only. You know, people aren't gonna subscribe to your newsletter and take out a loan and, you know, comment and recommend. Always have one kind of objective and make it solid, kind of single-minded campaign. Try different channels with different objectives. You know, we talked about LinkedIn and the benefits of that as opposed to Facebook. Facebook's where a lot of members are, so that's where you'd expect to generate more membership and more loans. Things like, you know, LinkedIn for hires, recruitment, things like that, and Twitter for more kind of awareness, engagement, discussion. Okay. Again, A/B testing we just talked about. And again, start small. You don't need to start with thousands and thousands. It's all just about scaling up what works and what doesn't. And then again, high quality assets. Only use high quality images. Lots of information can be found out about the best sizes for each channel online. So please do research that if you're thinking about going into this as well. Okay, so paid search is slightly different. Paid search is ultimately, now what I'd like people to do just to kind of illustrate this point is it's search engine marketing. So now, if everybody can take the mobile phones and put into Google cheap loan, okay? Just those words, cheap loan, into Google on your phone or your laptop or whatever it is, and then pop in the chat the result that you get first. Okay, I'll do the same. So I'm going to type it in the chat myself. So I got Drafty, Money Advisor, and Experian. They're the 4, and Tesco as well.
Seen a bit of Freedom Finance.
So Freedom Finance, what are those? Should we just have a little check? Freedom Finance are unsecured personal loans. Looks like it's pretty high. Interest rate.
I can't actually see.
Okay, so we've got just a kind of scroll up. Confused, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Money Guru, Money Advisor, Little Loans. Tesco, Money Supermarket. A lot of the big names coming up. Tesco, Experian, Lloyds, Sainsbury's. So it's adverts first, ultimately.
Tesco's been our winner, hasn't it?
Tesco, I think so. But what we've just illustrated there, guys, are examples of paid search ads. So because we will all have been served different ones, because we all have a different online kind of profile behavior, essentially. So those kind of results that you've just seen are paid for sponsored ads based on the keywords that we've entered. So cheap loans. And 9 times out of 10, I'd say 99 times out of 100, there'll be either a big bank, a loan comparison site, or a kind of high cost, short term, even payday lender. Okay, so that's what they are examples of. Now, you know, pretty much all the time, they'll have, you know, huge budgets that credit unions will never be able to compete with. But what we can do is we can try and use the platforms, use Google Ads as we've just used, to appear to the right people at the right time. Now, the reason why they're so successful is because they're intent-based. Because all of us have just searched for well, a cheap loan, from the kind of advertiser's perspective, we're more likely to go and click on it than, say, for example, if we were to say serve a paid search ad, paid social ad, sorry. So it's also known as pay-per-click, which you might refer to as well. But that's basically what kind of paid search is. Now, the current climate, cost of living, people are using the internet to find solutions to the problems. You've only got to look at the news, and it's absolutely, utterly dominated by the rising cost of energy and food, all these types of things. So people are looking at the internet to kind of see how it can be alleviated, how it can be helped. And what paid search allows you to do is to appear at that time instead of one of those high cost payday lenders. And the reason how we do that is by being a bit shrewder. So whilst they might have the biggest budgets and will always be able to blow credit unions out the water, let's face it, in terms of budgets, what we can do is we can just carve out our own little niche and say, we don't want to go national. We want to only appear to people within our common bond, within a particular demographic. And therefore our ads will be served more often. We'll get more clicks, and hopefully we'll save people from going to a high cost, unscrupulous alternative. Okay. Just some stats to illustrate how powerful this is. There's about 67,000 searches on Google every second. I think that's even more now. Pretty much all digital experiences start with a search engine. I mean, I know that's what I do if I'm looking for something. I'll go to Google. You might even go to Bing, other alternatives. Paid search results result in kind of more conversions, which is essentially more people taking the action that you want them to, than organic search. Okay, so because they're searching for something for a particular reason, they're more likely to click and take action at that moment. Okay, they're also more likely to buy. And again, something that I always kind of advise credit unions and charities and social enterprises to look into is to have a look into Google Ads, because I know they offer free credits to eligible SMEs. There's some kind of eligibility criteria, but have a look into it. Because I know that they offered us some towards the beginning of the pandemic. We're a social enterprise ourselves, so they offered us some free credits, which we took advantage of. Okay, so have a look into it. It's free. You can try. It's an experiment. All these types of stuff. Okay, so it's not just search as well. Say for example, if you visit a local news outlet online, say if it's for us it'd be the Liverpool Echo or the Metro, things like that. You'll most likely be served kind of display ads along the sides, and pictures, images, things like that. It's another kind of version of the PPC ad. Also on YouTube, before you watch the video that you want to watch, it's very likely to be served 1 or 2 adverts. Now, these are all tailored to your specific profile. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I always get YouTube videos to do with digital marketing all the time. And it's because my online profile, I'm searching it so much. I'm obviously, Google's built up this picture and this profile for me based on my online behavior. And that'll be different for each one of us. Essentially, it'll be based on your profile, what that algorithm believes you're going to be kind of interested in. Okay. Also, app ads. There's certain apps that will provide you with adverts, videos, display, based on the same kind of concept, based on your profile and your behavior. Okay. Again, we won't talk through this one too much, but this is just an example of a campaign that we've run in the past for one of our clients. As you can see, high return on investment. I think it's fair to say you'll reach fewer people with paid search, but they're typically speaking higher converting. They're more likely to take action compared to paid social. Okay. And then I just wanted to kind of show you a bit of a clever example, basically. So Snickers is their kind of tagline, their slogan is "You're not you and you're hungry." So what Snickers did is they intentionally bid on misspelled words. So obviously this is business spelled the wrong way, and then their ad would come up as the first one on Google. You can't spell properly when hungry. Grab grab yourself a Snickers. But that was just a really clever, cool way. And Tobe, I know you've done stuff with kind of intentionally spell birds in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, one of the things, obviously, because the word loan is so expensive to bid on in Google, because we're against people like Tesco, like Money Supermarket, like all of that. There is a likelihood that people are going to misspell the word loan. You know, people misspell stuff into Google all the time. So bidding on the word loan is going to cost, 1% of the price. Sorry, bidding on a slightly misspelt version of the word loan, like an extra O in it, or an extra A, or an extra N, or whatever it might be, is going to be, 1% of the price of bidding on the word loan. So it's just things like that to try and sneak around the problems that we face when we're up against these really, really rich and well-funded sort of opponents in the paid search field.
Mm-hmm. What's on? Just some tips in terms of, was that your cat then, Tom?
Yeah, sorry. Just
right, okay. Again, ROI is essential. Make sure you're tracking, you're measuring things as you go, because that's when you can find out what works and what doesn't. Make sure you have a clearly defined audience. Don't advertise to everybody, basically, because you're going up against heavy hitters. Strong calls to action, well-written ads. There's lots of tools using Google Ads. To be totally honest, it can be quite overwhelming at first, but you can get account managers and stuff who can help. It's all about kind of testing, see what works, and learning, basically. Use kind of landing pages to make it smooth. I think just sending people directly to your kind of, your join and borrow page or your loan application page can be a bit aggressive. It can be a bit too much. But if you have a landing page that kind of, eases people in, tells people about, we're a credit union, we're not for profit, we're ethical, all these types of things, it'll really smooth that transition, and hopefully increase the amount of people. Because what you don't want to do is to, people have seen your advert, they find it interesting, they click, and then they're like, oh no, it's too much, and then click out, and then you've lost them. Essentially, you want them to keep on that page for as long as possible, and hopefully take the action that you'd like them to. Continuous improvement, as we say, always tweak things as you go. And then there's lots of kind of tools out there, Moz, keyword planner. Lots of these are free as well. So please do kind of, take advantage of them if you're thinking about exploring them as a potential option. Okay, so any questions so far, guys? I mean, have we had anything in the chat as we've gone? Or are we okay? All good?
All good, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've talked about organic social media, paid search and Google Ads, and then we're going to talk about email marketing. So pretty much the things that we've just talked about on the paid side, all to do with generating new membership, traditionally. Obviously, they're used for other things, but typically speaking, new membership and new loans. Now, what email marketing does is it makes your current members feel engaged with, making sure that they keep coming back. I mean, how often do you, kind of people join a credit union and then only to leave, or their account goes dormant? There's all that effort that you've put into, the money that you've spent in getting them to join and open an account, but it kind of fizzles out, and then obviously you've got that added cost of keeping the account open, of kind of maintaining it and removing anybody who might have fell dormant, or contacting them as well as also that added cost. So what this does is it's just making sure that you're engaged with your members and making sure that they keep coming back to you. Okay, it's free up to an extent. If you're a smaller credit union, I think MailChimp offers accounts that are free up to about 2,000 subscribers. There are other kind of providers, which we'll have a look at in a sec. But ultimately, once you have permission, and it's crucial that you do get permission. Obviously GDPR is such a kind of big thing. You've got to make sure that you've got permission to send people marketing emails. But once you do, you can email them for as long as they're subscribed. Email's still a massive part of work and life, of personal life. You know, 99% of people open their emails every single day. You know, it's how you join this webinar. It's how we told people about it. It's still very much crucial. It's also good for kind of press releases, service announcement, things like that, and also informing people of the full range of services that are available. You know, loans, online access, mobile apps, savings accounts, all these different types of things. There's some examples of kind of providers. So MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, these are just some options for you. In our experience, we use MailChimp and Campaign Monitor. But if you prefer, you know, other providers, they're all very similar, to be totally honest. MailChimp is pretty much the most favored. A lot of you guys will also have inbuilt email marketing CRM tools, which are really good. The key thing here is, and we'll talk about it in a second, but it's segmentation. It's about splitting up your audience to make sure that you're sending personalized, tailored campaigns. Okay. So these are just different examples of how we can segment people. Okay. So we ran a campaign for one of our clients, and I always kind of refer to this, but it was a larger credit union, and we wanted to run a report to find out how many members had changed their marital status with the credit union via the loan application or via an update in the details from single to engaged. We got only a small sample size, only about 100. But then we wanted to test and see if this worked. We sent them an email to say, congratulations, brilliant news, congratulations on the engagement. If we can help at all with the cost of the upcoming wedding, please do get in touch with the credit union and an example of a loan, you know, with APR and kind of expected repayments and things like that. Engagement was fantastic with it because it's personalized. It shows the individual that they've taken notice of a change in their circumstances. It feels kind of really customized, and also it kind of strikes while the iron's hot. It's providing a service to a need at that right time. I think think about inquiries were about 50% from the sample size we sent it to. So it was a really successful campaign. Other things that you can do, you know, top up loans if your credit union offers those. If your system allows, and there is a caveat there, if your system allows you to run a report for people who are due for a top up loan, you can email them systematically, regularly, and kind of say, you know, if you'd like to, you know, top up your loan to its original value or whatever it might be, if they're eligible for a particular, you know, amount, you can send out an email communication with that information. It'll be really effective. I can guarantee it'll be more effective than sending a generic kind of, you know, all-encompassing email ultimately. Okay, so say for example, a client of ours have asked us to send out a newsletter, and they want going in it details of loans for the summer, savings for Christmas, young savers accounts. They've just launched a new mobile app and members area, and they also want us 10 people to follow them on social media. Well, we could do that, but it's very unlikely that when somebody opens this email, they're going to take out all of these things or take out one, you know, even more than one, essentially. So what we want to do is we want to, instead of sending it to all of our member base, we want to separate it. We want to send it to, say, for example, members without loans or who are eligible. We want to tell them, hi, Joe Blogs, you're eligible for a loan of X. Please do speak to us if you're interested. On top of that, we can also say, you know, adult savings, we can promote a particular, you know, interest-bearing account to people who we think will be eligible. Say, for example, if you know certain members have saved, you know, a higher value with you in the past, you can promote that product. Parents, you know, if we have information that, you know, members have a particular number of dependents under a certain age, they're going to be likely to be interested in young savers accounts. And crucially, people who don't will not be interested. And if you're sending people irrelevant information via email, they can unsubscribe and they're gone pretty much forever. Okay. Mobile users, if you have that information, they're the ones who are going to use the mobile app. For anybody who hasn't registered online they're the ones who we want to tell about the members area. For people who already have registered, there's no point. And then finally, social media users. If you have, I don't know, demographic information that tells you they're likely to use social media, they're the people we want to send this email to. So what we've done is we've taken one generic email with, let's face it, and it's going to be unlikely that people are going to, take action on each of those things. But if we send a personalized email to segmented audiences, it's much more likely because it's personalized and it's customized. Just some tips that I can run through. This is something we did at the beginning of COVID. We basically wanted to offer our support to the credit union sector. So just some tips: attention grabbing headline, always be brief. Try not to go over, say, 200, 300 words on email, because you will lose attention quickly. Grab their attention at the very beginning and tell people what you want them to do. Make sure it's consistent with your brand and your kind of identity, ultimately. And also include a clear call to action towards the end, okay? Segmenting's crucial. You can also have, if you go to our website, you would have been provided with a pop-up about these webinars. And I think that's still on there, isn't it, Toby? I think it is. So what you can also do is, instead of that, have a pop-up getting people to subscribe to your newsletter if you don't know where to start. Volume-wise, we wouldn't recommend more than 2 or 3 a month. You don't want to turn people away with the bombardment of communication. You can automate things. So say, for example, I know it was Amazon Prime Day yesterday. I was looking at buying something myself. I added it to my cart, didn't buy it, but then this morning I received an email reminding me about this particular product. If you can get to a level where you're doing that with your own kind of members, you're winning very much at email marketing. And then lead magnets. Say, for example, if you don't know where to start with kind of getting permission or getting more people to subscribe to your newsletter, things like competitions, quizzes, rewards, kind of social kind of competitions, and that, they can all increase your number of subscribers. Something that Trish pointed out, which I think is very much an important point, is that some email filters automatically filter out words like loan or credit because they get so much spam. So they're basically trained to kind of block those. So what we'd say is always lead with the benefit, particularly in the subject line and the header in the description. Lead with the benefit. Don't talk about loans or the product itself. Lead with the benefit. So say, for example, if I'm sending out an email, hi Jack, make this summer one to remember. Speak to your local, well, not credit union, speak to us instead. And that ultimately will hopefully reduce the number of bounces and spam filters that are catching your emails. So we've got an example here. Jack, are you okay? Because I know you're the one who ran this.
Yeah.
So
we can talk through it. So yeah, basically the situation here was to promote debt consolidation loans to existing members for a credit union client. So we thought that email marketing would be a great way to do this. It's a cost-effective way of us communicating with our audience, because it's already pre-existing members, the kind of primed. So yeah, basically we look to sort of segment the audience into 3 sections. So those reside in Scotland, as the credit union is based in Scotland. Those with high levels of debt elsewhere, obviously, you're going to need some debts to consolidate, and also those who are aged 18 to 34 as well. So this is sort of how we split our audience up. And then what we did is tried to sort of tailor the emails that we were sending to these 3 audiences to make it seem as personal as possible. I think the idea is that, particularly sort of with them already being members of the credit union, the idea is sort of that we're going to metaphorically be kind of offering an arm around the shoulder, and sort of just speaking to them, as I said before, as kind of personably as sort of specifically as possible, really. So yeah, that's what we did. I think is there are we going on to the next slide, or are we sticking with this slide?
Let's do it.
So yeah, as I've sort of explained, we sent a sort of individual. Well, we split the audience into 3 sections, and we sort of wrote them each section their own kind of email, and then yeah, we sent it out, and basically sort of these were the results. Over 120 loan applications, 55 applications were approved, worth over £320,000. A really high sort of click open rate and click rate. I think in terms of industry standards, we're looking for about 24% and above in terms of open rate, and click rates we're looking for sort of anything really over kind of 3.5% is good. So we did really well there. And again, the kind of important thing we felt about this campaign is that it didn't cost our sort of credit union clients anything. It was part of the retainer that they pay us. It was part of the work that we kind of put in there. So yeah, the campaign went really well. We were really pleased with the performance of it, and I think it really illustrates how sort of you can leverage your email marketing to kind of speak specifically to your pre-existing clients. And that's something that we find with a lot of our sort of credit union clients. It's pre-existing members who generate a lot of the revenue for them, so it's good to kind of not forget about them. And just to answer your question, Melanie, to determine the level of debt that the members had, we basically used the targeting metrics. This particular client used in Qto. So we were able to sort of take a look at credit scores, outstanding debts, and things like that within that the sort of targeting framework on Qto. So that's how we were able to. I think it would be, for different clients, there'll be different sort of there might be kind of different targeting metrics that they're able to use, and we kind of just tailor how we're going to do this depending on what information we can get from our clients. So yes, Steph, the successful open and click rates, for an open rate, you're looking at anything that's over, I think, 24%. And for a click rate, we're looking for over sort of 3.5%. Will be really good. And that's kind of, obviously those metrics sort of change, but when I was last looking, that's sort of what we're looking at for kind of industry standards in the financial industry.
Cool. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Jack. The next area we're going to look at is something that kind of falls into a few different areas, basically. So blogs. What blogs allow you to do is blogs allows you to have personalized voice. We talk about this kind of buzzword thought leadership. So people like CEOs, managers, they really can, differentiate the credit union from everybody else. I mean, we only think about places like, Apple, which we talked about before, Microsoft. All these kind of figureheads are visual representations of the brand kind of identity, brand ethics, essentially. So it's particularly important, I think, that members, partners can rely on a credit union. And I think blogs are a really good way of getting that message across in an indirect way. You might not necessarily be able to speak and meet every kind of member that you have, but a blog allows you to really kind of convey that you're competent, that you're committed, that you're authentic, and you have integrity. And those values will only be reflected back on the credit union if you're creating content that is that, basically. The current situation, just out of COVID, cost of living, it's about kind of telling people what we're here for. Basically, credit unions are here to be relied upon, to be a lifeline to people who need it when they need it most. And blogs and kind of digital marketing allow you to really talk about that in a way that isn't too salesy. Basically, people don't like being sold to. So creating a blog that talks about all of your values and all of the things that you've done is a really good way to get that message across. Okay. Particularly on LinkedIn, as I say, LinkedIn's a professional network. So content that is more professional and formal in nature, should we say, is more likely to be engaged with on that channel, because people are open to responding to it, open to engaging with it much more than they would be, let's say, on Instagram, for example. What we'd always also do is, if you go to our website, there'll be a section where you can see our blog. All of our previous blogs are archived on there. There's lots of useful tips, lots of how-to guides, kind of thought pieces, all these types of things. And it's all categorized as well. It's really easy to find. What that does in turn is that will improve your search engine optimization. If you have more keywords, basically what Google does is it will rank your site based on the kind of the structure and the availability of keywords. So say, for example, if I was to put in digital marketing, credit unions, hopefully we would appear higher up in the organic search results. Okay. Just some kind of sites where you can find blogs. LinkedIn's obviously a big one, which we've talked about. Email's another one. Email monthly newsletters. Hopefully some of you guys are subscribed to our newsletter. If you're not, I'd really like it if you did so. So go to our site to do that. We send out a monthly newsletter with a roundup of news, things we've been up to, tips, all these types of things. Again, use various perspectives if you are thinking about going down the blog route. It's not just about CEOs. It can also encompass things like marketing, HR, accountants, all these types of things. It's about giving people the kind of platform to really be an expert in their own field. Okay. SEO we've talked about. Always include quality links and assets. So for example, if you're writing a blog and you put out on LinkedIn, include lots of links to your site, because that's where you want people to go. You want them to find out more, you want them to ask questions, all these types of things. Make sure it's authentic. Always speak from a position where you're comfortable. Don't try and be something that you're not. Ultimately, speak about what you know. Be authentic. Use language that you would use to your own staff, because that's real. It's always kind of, it's kind of relatable, essentially. I know if you're unsure about how to structure a blog, always use a P. Okay, so point, example, expert. Again, these 4 letters, but double E and double I. If your blog isn't the same as your social media, if it's not engaging, it's not educational, informative, or inspirational, we wouldn't kind of advise writing about it. Essentially, if you're just talking about yourself, how fantastic everything is and your own achievements, it's not going to be that engaging for other people to read about. Okay, so I mean, I'm not going to spend too long on websites because I think it's its own session. I think, what we talked about before, the third element of this is consultancy, where we can have a 2-hour kind of session with all of our team, tailored to your own kind of, your own brief, basically. But just to talk about it, I think it'd be remiss if we didn't. Websites are ultimately your shop window. It's where people go to find out about your business. It's essential for them to be attractive yet functional. So you want to get that kind of right balance. There's no other medium which gives you as much control as a website. Social media, you're always kind of reliant on algorithms, who people are following, what they're up to. But if people are on your website, it's up to you to make sure that it's as fully functional as possible. Once you have their attention, the rest is over to you, ultimately. SEO, we've talked about, and analytics are always kind of really in depth with regards to websites. Things like Google Analytics, all these types of things. There's a wealth of information for you to find out what to improve. Make sure it's attractive. It's not kind of cluttered. It's modern. It's kind of, think of it as a journey. So when you view the site, where do you want people to go, and can they get there easily in 1 or 2 clicks? Is it streamlined for both new and current members? Can they find what they need to? Make sure you've got it kind of secure with HTTPS certificates, because obviously that's such a big thing at the moment, particularly for financial organizations. You need to be trustworthy. Make sure it's kind of clearly structured out and it's easy for people to get in touch. And then again, something that we found with pretty much a lot of credit union websites is it's not immediately kind of obvious who can join. I mean, if that's the case, then you are wasting a lot of time, because one, you want to make it obvious because people make that connection. If people see on, let's say, for example, let's say South London, if that's immediately applicable to me because I live in South London, I can join this credit union straight away. They've got my attention. But if it's not immediately available, I've got to look around for that info. People will kind of waste the time looking for that. And then if they were to make an application, you've wasted your own time in assessing it, rejecting it, and you've wasted the customer's time as well. Okay, so the final kind of area is reporting. It's got an advantage over any other method of marketing. You can see where every penny and every click goes. It's always essential to find out what works and what doesn't in order to improve, and in order to kind of, measure what doesn't work, essentially. Something that we tell all of our clients is really push your IT providers to provide tracking codes on a secure part of the site. So that's where people complete their membership, essentially. There's no kind of data, risks at all, because it's all self-contained. What you want to do is you want to just measure your marketing campaigns if they're resulting in new members, new lending. It should be a fairly straightforward kind of ask. But if you are unsure of it, send us a message and we can talk about it more in our one-to-one sessions once you go to book them. Again, Google Analytics, which we talk about, really do look into. Okay, so coming towards the end now, guys, thank you for all staying. But just some useful tools that we use every day. Buffer, Hootsuite, there's lots of kind of social media scheduling tools out there. Canva is pretty much as good as any Photoshop tool out there. You don't need to be a professional graphic designer to use it. Things like Promo and Toonly, you can create videos using it if Canva isn't your thing. It's a really good way of doing so. Obviously Zoom, workplace teams, communications. And then towards the bottom, things like Right Relevance and SEMrush, they're really good for finding useful content to kind of put out in socials as well. Okay, so we're nearly there. Thank you very much for staying with us. Just as in terms of a recap, organic social media is not for selling. That's where you communicate your identity, your values, what makes you different. Who uses that and who's the audience that uses that? Mostly existing members, but some new members will find you on your organic social media. We recommend only using it when your credit union's open. And the reason that we say that is because you can respond quickly to any questions, messages, things like that. There are exceptions, of course. For example, if there's a particular, a holiday or, say the kind of Father's Day, Mother's Day, things like that. It's always good to post stuff out at that time as well. Paid social media is for us the most effective method of generating new members and loans, but it's very much for new people. It's not for existing members typically. We'd recommend running a campaign for about a month in length and then kind of assessing it, seeing where you go next. Paid search, very similar. That's where you kind of run Google ads based on what people are searching for, and it's for new members. A lot of the time with little prior knowledge to the credit union. So you need to make sure that you communicate what it is quickly and succinctly. Okay. Email marketing is all about current members, existing members, and making sure that they come back to you for repeat business. We'd say don't send an email to a particular person more than one a month. You can send 6 different campaigns to different people in the same month, absolutely fine, but try not to bombard the same person with the same communication. Stuff like blogs and website, that's more to do with SEO, with making people kind of believe in your values and kind of the identity that you're trying to get across. And then reporting, we'd say always report on anything that you can any of the above. Ultimately, you can always get data on anything that we've talked about today. Okay, we'd recommend doing that, a report, even if it's just internally between yourself and your kind of management board, whoever it is. It's always good just to see how it's going, because then you know what to change, basically. Okay, so with that in mind, with everything we've talked about, I've skipped ahead there. I'm going to put up a poll now. Now, let me know if you can see this, guys. Can everyone see that? Yep. So we're going to ask you to choose one of the 4 below, which we're going to look at more in depth in the next session. Okay. And it's going to be really in depth. We're going to talk you through the tools we use, setting up, say, if it's a campaign or if it's particular content and things like that. And then we're going to take that into the next session for us all to look at. Okay. I'll just let you guys do that for us. Give it a couple of seconds.
I think Sheila's saying she can't see the poll, Ant.
Oh, are you on mobile, maybe? I'll tell you what, I mean, Sheila, if you want to, basically the options were organic social media, paid social media, email, and website. If you want to just put it in the chat, we can add that to our account. Social media. Which one would it be, paid or organic? So like the paid stuff's where we attract new members. Organic's very much for building a fantastic page. Okay, superb. We know we've got to go away. I think we've got a bit of a tie actually. Paid, okay. That might tip the favor. Okay. Well, we're going to have these results anyway. We're going to go away and put together content that essentially, can you guys see the results now?
Yep.
We've got a, very even split, to be honest. But we'll go away, we'll have a discussion, we'll gather feedback from the surveys as well, and then we'll decide what the next session focuses on. But it's going to be a lot more in depth than today. Today was very much an introduction. But I'm glad everyone stayed on. They've been kind of engaged with it. Hopefully it's all been useful for you. Can I just ask the next slide? So hopefully we've done something right. But if you could just pop into the chat 3 things that you think your credit union could improve. We'll also be picking these up and focusing it in the next session. So it doesn't have to be 3, even if it's 1, up to 3 things that you think you've taken from today that you're going to try and really implement with your own credit union. That would be lovely if you could just pop it in. Membership volunteers, brilliant. Brilliant. Real mixed bag. Superb. We've got everything touched on, I think, haven't we? Excellent. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for all of your input. It's been a really engaged session, which we're delighted with. So thanks so much. We're going to stay on for kind of 5 minutes or so. If you've got any particular questions you'd like to ask us about this session, please do pop them into the chat. If it's something that kind of suits a more in-depth discussion, feel free to email us. Just a reminder, you will be sent a survey about today. If you could complete that, that'll be sent through automatically tomorrow. It'll be multiple choice, be really quick, dead easy. But if you've got anything in particular you want to pick up with us, our email's there. all of our socials are there. Follow us, subscribe to our newsletter, because we're always putting out, you know, useful tips and pointers and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll stay for a couple of minutes just until everyone goes. But thank you so much. And yeah, see you for the next one in 12 days.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Look forward to seeing you next time.
See you guys.
Guys.
I will pause recording. Stop.